What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come into the channel. Please definitely subscribe to the channel. The channel is growing slowly but surely. And so, with that being said, man, I want to speak on Chris Mullins, right? Chris Mullins was one of these New York City guys that was really tough, a tough ball player. Um, usually I know usually when you talk about New York City ball players, you mostly hear about like their guards, man, like Kenny Anderson, Stephon Marbury, Rod Strickland, like guards like that, Pearl Washington, dudes that's just really Shan guard, you know what I mean? Dudes that's really nice with handling the ball and and just really running the offense. Tough, nice guards come from New York, right? But Chris Mullins was different. Chris Mullins, he wasn't no point guard, but this dude was tough. He still had that confidence and that toughness that a lot of those New York City playground players had. He still had that. And so I remember watching Chris Mullins when he played at St. John's and the competition that when you in that Big East in St. John's University, the competition that he was going up against those days in that Big East, man, Syracuse was tough. Georgetown, Providence, Villanova, man, UConn. That conference it was tough. You don't have no days off. You playing anybody in that conference back in those days when Chris Mullins was there, wasn't no days off, man. And so I ran across like some audio of Chris Mullins just describing like his days growing up in New York, what made him, you know, what made him the player that he turned out to be. And so I'm gonna play that, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna comment on what Chris Mullins said. Hold up, let me get this.
You man, I was the only white guy in the park. So right away, like, what's this guy doing here? Come on, man. So there was
Back when you had
somewhat
the longer hair too.
a little bit, yeah. Performance the day before had nothing to do with the next day. You always had to go up there and show out, or they booed you until you get the hell out of here.
Right.
So in a way, that pressure / motivation really developed my focus. So whether I'm playing in an empty gym or in a packed Madison Square Garden, the approach is the same because you're proving something. If you're playing one-on-one, you're proving to that guy right there, I'm in better condition than you. I'm a better shooter. I'm tougher. I learned that as a young kid and then stayed home, obviously at St. John's, playing some great teams there. But my upbringing, first at home and then growing up in New York City, I think really as a basketball player meant everything. But I got to say, it really shaped, in my opinion, a wider view of the world. Because like I said earlier, at home, I had my mom and dad were home. My mom was home every night for dinner. And all of a sudden at Power, I would go over to Spanish Harlem with a teammate who lived in the project and an empty house, no food. All of a sudden I'm like, damn. But in a good way though.
Yeah.
It made me grateful. It made me want to help that kid, bring him home to my house. But sometimes when you're only in your own community, you think everyone has what you have.
Man, so yeah, can you imagine though? And a lot of people go through these type situations, right? Chris Mullin said that he was he'd be the only white guy in the park. And so, like I said, the playgrounds, I don't care like what city you play in. You could be in Baltimore, you can be in DC, you could be in Detroit. And it's on them playgrounds, man, it's competitive. And then put on top of that, like you the only white guy in the park. You got to be that deal, man, or you gonna get just gonna get booed off the court, like he said. And so if you want to continue to play in the park, you gotta continue to perform. And that's what made, and you could see, like I said, when I used to watch St. John's, and I used to be a Georgetown fan, but when you see that this dude wasn't no quit in Chris Mullin, right? He would eat you alive. He just would eat these guys alive in that Big East. He was 3-time Big East Player of the Year. Man, you can't fake it. in that conference. You couldn't fake it. And he was tough because he was a dude who played in the playgrounds. He didn't allow other people to, like, to take his shine away from him or intimidate him. I used to see when he used to go against all those teams, like Georgetown had to do a boxing one to stop this guy. That's just crazy. Georgetown, the whole team was defense, and they still had to go boxing one to slow him down. I remember when because the year, I don't know what year Georgetown won that national championship, but they had to beat St. John's to get there. Right, one of the teams they had to beat was St. John's to get there that year, in their tournament, and so Georgetown had so much respect for Chris Mullin, man, that they had to go boxing one. So David Wingate had the assignment of playing Chris Mullin, and everybody else was just like helping. They played, like a 2-2 zone. That's the boxing one, and then David Wingate just played. That was crazy. And when I was young, right, and I was like, what in the world kind of defense is this? They was like, that's a boxing one. That's respect. A team that's all defense. You know what I mean? Because usually Georgetown they would strap up on any team that they played. It was just man to man. Georgetown, man to man. They had 5 athletes out on the court, and they had more athletes on the bench that they could just run at you. But with Chris Mullins, the dude was tough. It didn't even make a difference. You just couldn't do that with Chris Mullins, man. And yeah, that's when that Big East was just a powerhouse. And him having that New York grit in him is what just made him a tough ball player like that, though. And so, yeah, man, it was a good listen, to hear Chris Mullins just talk about his upbringing, what he saw, and the conditions that he's seen, and some of the people that he knew or played with grew up, and he appreciated that, and that made him even wanted to work harder because he appreciated the fact that he had his 2 parents at the house, and having 2 parents at the house, will put you in a position where, as though, take some of that burden off of you as a kid. And he took that, applied that to his basketball game, whereas though that focus, he didn't have to focus on what our life's gonna get cut off. He didn't have to focus on like missing meals or nothing like that, or being in a cold apartment. He just had to just get tough on them playgrounds, get tough on that court, and and just keep his eye on the mission at hand. And his mission, the mission was basketball. And so, yeah, man, I used to enjoy watching Chris Mullins play, even though he played at St. John's and I was a Georgetown guy. Man, he still was that dude. And so, yeah, that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, I will check you all out in the next video. Peace.